Okay, 3 cases today, and I need everybody to know I was fired up about all of them before I even tapped my phone on the turnstile this morning. Dolph Lundgren, Ivan Drago, He-Man, the man who told Rocky, "I must break you," sat down for a 2-day interview with journalist Graham Bensinger and casually explained that his ex-wife had a whole silent financial system where he cheated and she spent $60,000 a month on his credit card. No contract, no conversation. She just started spending. He kept paying, and they both knew exactly what it was. The internet is calling it a cheating fee. I'm calling it something else entirely.
I'm calling it weird.
One of America's top party schools launched a bachelor's degree in content creation, 4 years, student loans, a diploma for posting. And as somebody who has been grinding with this podcast through radio stations, studios, a house fire, a hotel room, and 2 hours of walking to work every morning just to quiet my mind, I have very specific thoughts about that. And a woman in South London named Laura Tate won an employment tribunal because her job told her to turn her camera on during video calls despite her documented anxiety disorder. She said no. A judge backed her up, and somewhere right now, an HR manager is having a very quiet, very personal crisis. 3 cases. Let's get into it. Court is now in session. Welcome back to Hot Take Court, the only podcast where we take things that have everybody talking and actually put them on trial. Evidence, arguments, verdicts, no shortcuts. I'm John Cash, your judge, your host, and today apparently your relationship counselor, your higher education critic, and your HR department all in one. It's a lot. I'm handling it.
Man of many hats.
Exactly.
There's one right there.
If you are not subscribed, fix that right now. Not at the end of the episode. Right now. The algorithm is not your friend if you're not subscribed, and I need us to be on the same team. Hit the button, 2 seconds. It's free. And honestly, after everything it took to get this episode to you, it's the least you could do. I say that with love. Drop comments as we go. I read them. I take them personally. The best ones come back up on the next edition of Hot Take Court and get prosecuted in open court. All right, let's go. Case 1. And I'm going to start by correcting the record because the internet took this story and ran with a version of it that is less interesting than what actually happened, which is frankly a crime given how interesting what actually happened is. What everybody is saying, Dolph Lundgren had a formal cheating fee, a prenup clause, a negotiated arrangement, $60,000 a month to cheat in peace.
Why wouldn't he just break up with her?
What actually happened, Dolph Lundgren, He-Man, Ivan Drago, a man built like a government building and apparently just as hard to move from his habits, sat down with journalist Graham Bensinger for a 2-day interview, 2 full days. Can you imagine? What? I don't even know who I would want to sit across from and talk to for 2 days.
That's ridiculous.
Maybe Rihanna. Which means either Graham Bensinger is the most patient journalist alive or Dolph Lundgren has been carrying a lot and finally found someone willing to listen. Somewhere in that conversation, Dolph started talking about his first marriage to interior designer Annette Kvibberg. Married 1994, 2 daughters, divorced 2011 after 16 years together. During those 16 years, however, Dolph cheated regularly. And I wanted to be very clear that he is the one saying this out loud on camera to a journalist voluntarily for publication. I respect the transparency, even as I am absolutely judging the choices. Now, the internet called what happened next a cheating fee, like there was a contract, a meeting, a formal negotiation. There was none of that. What Annette did was simpler and more calculated than any contract. She started spend that shit. His credit card bills from her ran about $60,000 a month. A Ferrari here, something there, the full overhead of a life he was financing while he was somewhere entirely else. His exact words to Graham Bensinger, and I quote, "She kind of knew that I had affairs, but I don't think she cared as long as I paid the bills and brought her a new Ferrari." And then this man called it a classic. Not with guilt, not with regret, with the energy of someone describing a well-known play. Like he'd seen this dynamic before, recognized his own role in it, and made his peace with the whole thing. Sir, that's not a classic. That's a whole situation that required therapy for multiple people across multiple years and probably still isn't fully resolved. So let's enter into evidence. A few things need to go on the record here because details matter. First, this has nothing to do, once again, with Emma Crockdahl, his current fiance. Emma is 27. Dolph is 67.
Oh my God.
They're engaged, and she is not in this story. The internet keeps conflating the two, and it changes everything about what you're evaluating. The woman in this case is Annette, his ex-wife of 16 years, mother of his daughters, the woman who developed an entire financial response system without ever once announcing it out loud. Second, Dolph also told Benzinger his income dropped by roughly 90% during this same period. That's peak Hollywood, which it rated down to a fraction of it. The overhead just never adjusted. So you kept cheating, money kept going lower. Yeah.
That's fucking stupid.
And the cycle just continued. He could see it clearly. He described it in detail. He just didn't stop, which is its own entire conversation about the gap between understanding your behavior and actually changing it. Some people can diagnose the problem perfectly and still not fix the shit. That's not stupidity. That's something entirely else. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, here's my actual read on what Annette did. She never confronted him. No ultimatum. No dramatic conversation. No lemonade. Not one word about what she knew or what she expected or what the arrangement was. She just started spending. Spend that shit. And he kept paying. Pay that shit. And they both understood without ever saying it out loud exactly what that transaction meant. Now the internet wants to call her a gold digger.
What?
And I know some of you already typed it in your head, but I want you to think about what she actually did. She looked at her situation clearly. There was no illusions, no denial, identified her leverage and deployed it quietly, consistently, every single month for 16 years without ever having to raise her voice or make a scene. The $60,000 a month was not the price of his peace. That was the price of hers. And Sis collected every month for 16 years without a contract, without a conversation, without ever giving him the satisfaction of a reaction. That is not a gold digger. That is a woman who understood the assignment and executed it flawlessly for over a decade and a half. Now, I know it's sitting in the comments already. John, she was only there for the money. And maybe, probably in part. I'm not about to romanticize a Ferrari as a love language. But before you type that, I need you to honestly answer something. How many people, and I'm talking people we know, people we are, people we've been, are in situations right now where the financial reality is the primary reason one person stays? Where something is being tolerated because walking away costs more than absorbing it. Where nobody says anything out loud because saying it out loud forces a decision nobody is ready to make. At least Annette understood the terms clearly enough to benefit from them. Some people are absorbing the exact same thing and getting Applebee's on a Tuesday with nothing to show for it. I'm not judging. I'm really not. I'm just reading the evidence out loud and letting it say what it says.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody would coming down on her about this. Like, her husband cheated. She reacted. She made that money.
Exactly. Spend that shit.
Yeah.
Here's my verdict. Dolph Lundgren, you are guilty of the infidelity he confessed to voluntarily on camera for publication.
And shit, he seemed like he was cool with it too. So I don't know why people online getting mad.
This verdict needs no argument. He already made it himself.
Word.
With his whole chest and seemingly zero hesitation. The arrangement, not guilty of being a formal cheating fee because it never was one. It was a power dynamic expressed through a credit card sustained by mutual silence for 16 years, which is somehow more fascinating than any contract would have ever been. My sentence for you is Dolph is required to acknowledge that Rocky won on screen and in the marriage, both. And Annette Quivberg owes this court nothing because she already handled everything that needed handling without ever needing a ruling from anybody. Whew, that was.
Yeah.
And Graham Bensinger receives this court's Presidential Medal of Podcast Excellence, which I just created specifically for this moment, for sitting a man down for 2 full days, asking the right questions, letting the silence do its work, and walking away with a man's complete financial and romantic autobiography on the record. Sir, you didn't just conduct an interview, you performed an extraction. Give that man every award that exists. Now, comment below, if your partner pulled what Annette pulled, would you respect it or resent it? And be honest about which answer makes you more uncomfortable, because those two reactions are very different windows into where you are right now. I want the real ones. The comment section can handle it, of course. Let's jump into, before I get into the next case, let me just take a quick swig of Island Punch, courtesy of Licious Island Vibes, one of the sponsors.
Absolutely delicious.
Of the John Cash Show podcast. The Island Punch is made of a medley of fruits, including guava, pineapple, mango, passion fruit, and lemon juice. Of course, you keep it refrigerated and you shake it well and enjoy the deliciousness, so to speak, of Licious Island Vibes. That's liciousivibes.com.
This pineapple one gonna have me snatched up.
Exactly. Hey, what you doing? Stop what you're doing right now and subscribe to the John Cash Show podcast. Case 2. This is the one that I need y'all to understand I'm not approaching from the outside looking in. I am a content creator. Not theoretically, not aspirationally. Right now, today, this episode that you are listening to is content that I created. Hot Take Court is content. The John Cash Show is content. And I did not get a degree in any of it. So when I heard that one of America's top ranked party schools launched a 4 years bachelor's degree in content creation with student loans, a diploma, and presumably a graduation ceremony, I didn't just have opinions about the concept. I have receipts. Because here is what the actual curriculum of becoming a content creator looks like. And I'm not just describing somebody else's journey, I'm describing mine's. You upload episodes to radio stations and navigate studio schedules that don't care about your vision, they care about their slot. You edit content at hours that have no business being part of a work day. You sacrifice dinners. You miss events. You cancel on people you love because the episode has to be ready and nobody else is going to make it ready. You do this not because it's glamorous. It is not glamorous, but because you believe in what you're building and you cannot stop. And then you upload a clip that you were certain was going to connect. You watched it back 4 times. You knew. You posted it. You check the metrics later, and then you see 87 views. And you have to sit with that without letting it stop you, which is genuinely one of the hardest things about this entire process. Nobody who is selling a content creation degree is going to put that in the course description. And then I want to make sure I say this part correctly. You go through something. My mother fell and broke her hip. And when that happens, everything else stops. The content, the schedule, the momentum you were building, all of it goes on pause because your mother needs you. And there's no version of you that doesn't show up for that. And while you're navigating that, I lost my apartment to a house fire while I was at work, gone. Over 2 weeks spent in a hotel, walking 2 hours to work every day because the movement helped quiet a mind that would not stop racing. 2 hours each way, on foot, in Brooklyn, New York, processing everything at once while still trying to figure out how to get the next episode out. And you know what some people said during that period? That I was almost 40 and still doing the same thing, that I should have figured it out by now, that the fact that I was starting over again was evidence that this wasn't working. These are not strangers on the internet saying this. These are people who are supposed to understand that starting over after a fire and a family medical crisis is not the same thing as failing, but they said it anyway. And then, and this is my personal favorite, people with 5 followers started sliding into my mentions telling me they should be on my show because they would be entertaining. 5 followers. The audacity is so complete, so fully formed, so breathtakingly committed to itself that I genuinely had to respect it for a second before I get annoyed. You have 5 followers and you think you're the asset in this transaction. 5 followers. I have more people watching me edit at the cafe and the gym at midnight than you have on your entire page, and you need to be on my show? The confidence alone deserves its own degree. That is a level of self-confidence that a content creation degree cannot teach you, and honestly cannot take away from you either. Whew. So when I hear about a 4-year bachelor's degree in content creation, I don't think about the curriculum. I think about everything the curriculum cannot include: the fire, the hotel, the 2-hour walks, the 87 views, the people who called me a failure during the hardest stretch of my life, and the fact that I'm still here, still recording, still uploading, still building, because that is what content creation actually is. It's not a degree. It's not a syllabus. It's a decision you make every single day, even when every single day gives you a reason not to. Here's what nobody putting a content creation degree together is going to tell you. The curriculum that actually works looks like this. You upload something, it gets 87 views. You upload something else, you lose your apartment to a fire. You spend 2 weeks in a hotel. You walk 2 hours to work every morning because your mind won't stop. And the movement is the only thing that helps. You take care of your mother. You come back. You upload again. People tell you you're almost 40 and you're still doing the same thing. Like that's supposed to stop you. People with 5 followers tell you they should be on your show. You upload again. That's the degree. That's the whole program. And the only institution that offers it is your own refusal to quit. You cannot take out a student loan for resilience. You cannot get a GPA and getting back up. And no party school in America is going to hand you a diploma for the thing that actually determines whether you make it. The work does that. The work and the decision every single day to keep going. Whew.
Damn, you did your big one right there.
Now, I get a little, when it comes to this.
As you should.
Now, let me be fair, because fairness is what this court runs on. The creator economy is real money. $250 billion in 2023, and is growing. There are Black creators, millennial creators, first-generation creators who have built real wealth from their phones and their consistency. That is not a joke, and I will not treat it like one. And some of what this degree teaches, which is IP rights, contract negotiation, brand deal structure, that is genuinely valuable. The business literacy gap in the creator space is real. Most creators learn that stuff the expensive way. After they sign a deal that seemed fine until it wasn't. After they build a brand on a platform that changes its algorithm on a Wednesday and takes 30% of their income with it. If the degree closes that gap, the business side, the protection side, the knowing what you're signing side, there's an argument for it. But here's what the degree cannot do. Nobody who has ever hired a content creator has asked for a diploma. They asked for the analytics, the engagement rate, the audience, the work. The portfolio has always been the credential in this industry, and a degree from a party school, Arizona State University, does not change that. And the thing that actually makes a creator connect, the authenticity, the timing, the ability to make somebody feel seen in 15 seconds, you cannot teach that. It comes with the person. You develop it by posting, failing, posting again, and refusing to let the 87 view clips become the reason you stop. My verdict, the business skills curriculum, not guilty. Teach the IP, teach the contracts, teach creators how to protect what they build before someone else owns it. The credential, guilty of charging $37,000 for a diploma that this industry has never once asked to see. A special citation to whoever approved this degree at the school with the top 10 party ranking, because that is either the most self-aware move in American higher education or the least, and I cannot determine which. Both are bold. I respect the commitment. Here's my sentence. Every professor teaching this program opens the first class by showing their personal content metrics, follower count, engagement rate, and revenue. You have never built an audience? You did not get to charge someone $37,000 to learn how to build one. That is the standard. And to everyone out here who has been building something in the middle of something, in the middle of a loss, a fire, a family crisis, a stretch where people who are supposed to support you are calling you a failure instead. The degree cannot give you what you already have. Keep going. Whew. Drop a comment. What is the hardest thing you've had to push through to keep building what you're building? And if you've had somebody with 5 followers tell you they should be on your platform, I want to hear about it, because I know I'm not alone in that experience, and the comment section needs to know it too. All right, let me take another sip from our proud sponsor.
Yeah. Take a minute.
Shake it well.
Let the island vibes.
The island vibe, yeah.
Back. But yeah, man, it sucks when people put down people just for trying to do their own thing and be who they are, bro. That's the worst thing you could do.
Yeah, I get so much feedback about so much stuff. It's sometimes you just gotta ignore it. But
yeah, it's just people who are insecure about their own life.
Yeah, I just keep going.
Word.
Put my head down and keep going. That's why we over 1 million views over the past 365 days.
Exactly.
So, case 3. And this one is for everybody who has ever been on a work video call with their camera off and the anxiety fully activated, hoping nobody makes it a thing. Laura Tate worked at Holiday Extras, which is a UK company that sells travel add-ons, vacation services, airport parking. She has an anxiety disorder. It's diagnosed, it's documented. Not a preference, not a personality trait, a medical condition with paperwork behind it. She asked her employer for 2 accommodations: camera off in meetings and fewer voice calls during the workday, because both of those things triggered her anxiety in ways that affected her ability to function. It was simple, specific, reasonable. And Holiday Extras said no. So Laura Tate went to an employment tribunal in South London. The tribunal, as reported by the New York Post, ruled in her favor. It found that Holiday Extras failed to make reasonable adjustments for her disability, and specifically named the ability to join meetings with her camera off and to reduce her voice call volume as accommodations they were obligated to at least explore. Now, I need to pause on the company name one time. Holiday Extras. This is a company whose entire business model, their whole reason for existing, is making other people's travel experiences less stressful.
That's hilarious that they can't extend that courtesy to their employees.
That is the product. Reduce stress, smoother journey. And they cannot apply that same energy to their own employee with a documented stress condition. I said I was going to let that go. I lied. Because that irony is too complete to just move past that.
It is crazy. Like, I'm sure no camera is nothing. Like, that's nothing at all. And then less voice calls, like, I'm sure she could take like 1 or 2 less. It's not that big a deal.
Let me give you the legal foundation because context matters here. Under the UK Equality Act 2010, employers are required to make reasonable adjustments for employees with disabilities. Anxiety qualifies. This is not a new law. What's new is applying it specifically to camera on mandates in a remote work environment. That application is what makes this case matter beyond just Laura Tate and Holiday Extras. Here's what the tribunal actually found, and this is the part that every HR department needs to hear clearly. They did not find that camera on policies are illegal. They found that holiday extras refused Laura Tate's requests without ever having the conversation they were legally required to have. No exploration of alternatives, no good faith engagement, no discussion of what might work. Just no, that's our policy and we're done. That failure to even sit down and have the conversation is where they fucked up at.
Yeah.
And lost. Now, I want to be fair about why camera on culture became a thing, because I'm not going to act like companies invented it purely out of malice. After 2020, when entire workforces went remote overnight, managers genuinely did not know how to supervise people they couldn't see. Camera on was an attempt to recreate the accountability of a physical office. I understand the logic, but then what happened is what always happens when corporate America gets a hold of a reasonable idea. They ran it into the ground. Cameras on became non-negotiable, became a control mechanism, became the thing managers pointed to when they wanted to assert authority over a workforce they could no longer physically monitor. And somewhere in that process, the people on the other side of those cameras, the ones with real diagnoses, real conditions, real documented needs, got treated like they were making excuses for being difficult. Laura Tate was not being difficult. She was asking for one specific adjustment that would have cost her employer nothing except a policy exception. And they said no without a conversation. And now they have a tribunal ruling, a New York Post story, and a legal precedent being cited by employment attorneys on both sides of the Atlantic. The conversation was free. They chose the expensive version. Can we be honest about something? The camera on, no exceptions culture was never really about collaboration. It was about control, because the same companies demanding cameras on during every video call had everybody muted for 70% of the meeting while one person talked at a screen for an hour straight. The camera was not there for connection. The camera was there for so somebody could feel like they were still in charge of people they could no longer physically see. And when an employee with documented anxiety says this specific thing is making my condition worse, I'm asking for one adjustment, just the camera, and the answer is no without a conversation. That is not about team cohesion. That is about who gets to decide what your body has to do at work. A judge at South London just answered that question. The answer was not them, and that answer is now in writing. So here's my verdict. Holiday extras, guilty. The tribunal said it first, and this court is co-signing without hesitation. Laura Tate, not guilty. You're fully vindicated, and I genuinely hope she is somewhere comfortable right now with her camera firmly and permanently off. My sentence is every HR department with a camera on policy and no accommodation process needs to fix that today. Not next quarter, not at the next policy review, today. Because Laura Tate's case is now the reference point every employment attorney is going to use when they write the letter you don't want to receive. The conversation was free. The tribunal was not. Pick one. And to everyone who has been white knuckling through video calls with your anxiety activated and your camera off and your heart rate up, hoping nobody makes it an issue, you now have a ruling that says your request is reasonable. Use that information.
Yeah, right.
All right, 3 cases. And before I give the final rulings, I wanted to say something about today's episode that I didn't plan, but I think is worth naming out loud. Every single case today was about a system that looked like it was working when it wasn't. Annette Quivberg built a financial system around a husband who wouldn't manage himself. The marriage looked functional from the outside. It was something else entirely underneath. The content creation degree looks like education, but the system that actually produces creators, the posting, the failing, the fire, the hotel room, the 2-hour walks, the 87 views, the people who called you a failure while you were in the middle of a comeback. That system doesn't have a classroom. It just has you and your decision to keep going every single day. And Holiday Extras had a camera on policy that looked like a reasonable workplace standard, but underneath it was a system that chose control over people. And when someone with a documented condition asked for one specific adjustment, the system said no without a conversation and called that a policy. 3 cases, 1 through line. The gap between what a system looks like and what it actually does is where the truth lives. Pay attention to that gap in your own life. The rulings, Dolph Lundgren, guilty of what he confessed to with his whole chest on camera voluntarily. Annette Quidberg, not guilty of anything except understanding the system she was in and running it better than the person who built it for 16 years without saying a word. The content creation degree, the skills are not guilty, the credential is. And to everyone building something in the middle of something hard, the degree cannot give you what the grind already has. Keep going. Laura Tate versus Holiday Extras. Holiday Extras is guilty. Laura Tate won. And the conversation they refused to have cost considerably more than it would have if they just sat down and had it. 3 cases, 3 verdicts, 1 through line. Mind the gap. Court is adjourned. Subscribe if you haven't. Share this with whoever came to mind during one of these cases. And I know somebody came to mind probably more than once. For everybody who has been rocking with the John Cash Show through the moves and the setbacks and the rebuilding, I see you. This one was for you specifically. The cases are lined up. And if today taught us anything, mind the gap between what looks like it's working and what actually is. Court is adjourned.